You're watching TVC Breakfast. Entrepreneurship has been identified as a major solution to unemployment in many parts of the world. But to become an entrepreneur, the importance of skills acquisition cannot be overemphasized. Skills acquisition do not only contribute to self-development of a person, but the growth and development of a country's economy. The productive capacity of a nation depends solely on the ability of the nation to recognize the ability of its manpower, thus should be taken with utmost importance. Joining us in the studio is the Managing Director and CEO, Shoe Speed, Abiodun Olawiyo. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio. When I heard Shoe Speed, I was thinking of using Bolt and, when you wear shoe and then you start running and all of that. But then that goes to show that you are into shoes.
Yes.
Are you a cobbler or a shoemaker?
A shoemaker.
No, excuse me, I'm a shoemaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, a lot of people love to refer to me as a cobbler. I've been to a meeting once and someone said, you don't look like a shoemaker. I mean, you look too tush and put together to be called a shoemaker. Right. But the truth about the matter is if you go into the dictionary and make further research, you find that the shoemakers are the people that, start with the process of getting the idea of the shoe you want to make, material sourcing you see to make the shoe. Then, and you also determine how and when it gets to the final consumer. So it's from the beginning to the end. That's a shoemaker. But a cobbler is the person that waits for you to buy the shoe. You wait for a while, the sole goes bad, and you want to fix it. So they get to repair the shoes. They don't
All right. So let's talk about our topic for today, leveraging on skills for economic development. In the past, we could see that your level of education and whatever you studied in school sort of determined your potential outside the school. How much of a big deal is the skill economy now, and what does this indicate for the future of work?
All right. So, unfortunately, skill acquisition in this part of the world is just seen as something you do if you don't have anything doing. So you hear people say things. I get calls from parents or whoever to say that, look, I have a boy that is just there. I want him to just get something doing. All right, so we do not pay respect and attention and priority into ensuring that people acquire the skills that are needed in every economy. All right, beyond, what I do, I'm always been advocating for the fact that we need to have big institutions and the government needs to pay keen attention into the need for us to, I used to tell people that when I tell people that I would rather be called a shoemaker rather than an accountant, because I studied accounting in school. A first degree in accounting, I also have a master's degree. But I found out that, what I have passion for really is the leather works, the leather industry. So it was a big of frustration to think that, okay, what do? I remember when I started up with my very good friend, Dapo Duba, back then in the university. My father was a professor in the same university. He wanted me to be a professor in the same, of course, eventually. But I really don't want to be in the classroom. I want to create value, for my society. I went to the guidance and counseling department. What can I do? I'm now studying accounting. Is there any course that helps me to become a professional shoemaker like the Ferragamo of this world and the rest? And they looked at me like, you must be sick upstairs. Why would you want to quit accounting or shoemaking? Right?
But in the defense of some of these parents who say their children are just idle and not doing anything, and that's why they resort to skill acquisition. You are an accountant, so you went to school. There are persons who decide not to go to school and just focus on skill acquisition. How possible is that to actually work?
So if I have an opportunity to turn back the hands of time, I'd rather not just do accounting. I'd rather just focus early enough. And it's the reason why Italy, a place like Italy, is known to be #1 in the world for quality shoes. A lot of them knew from secondary school that they have no business studying accounting or banking and finance. They have an idea of what they really wanted to study from school. So, that was what my immediate elder brother did eventually. He didn't go to the university, he just went straight into farming. And now he's a big boy.
But then you'll now be wondering the connection between the town and the gown, because you were in school. Your elder brother?
Immediate elder brother.
Immediate elder brother didn't go to school. But then others will be saying, especially when you go on the internet today, they will say, a school not scam. So how would you answer this? And what is the relationship between going to school and identifying your skills? Because it's one thing to go to school, it's another thing to think, this is where my passion is, this is how I want to pursue it. Are they related, the town on the ground when it comes to economic development and your own personal economy, contribution to the economy?
Yeah, well, I think you can marry both, all right? So you just need to look deep into what you really want to do eventually. You want to be a shoemaker? Yes, you need to look deep into all that is required. It's not just, I tell people skill acquisition, it's both technical and professional. When you talk about hard skill and soft skill. So you learn the skill, you also learn how to make money, you learn financial discipline, you learn marketing, you learn strategy, and all of that. So for me, I've just resolved to the fact that, look, for you to run a successful outfit, you also need to learn to balance your books and understand the numbers, understand the figures, and all of that. But you and I know that I can actually employ someone. I have an auditor, I have an accountant that help me manage my books. So I really don't need to go to school to study accounting because I want to run a successful shoemaking business.
Well, you studying accounting will also help you to have, insight into what those professionals will be doing on your behalf.
Of course, yeah, it does. It does. For, like I mentioned, my immediate elder brother, he stopped at secondary. He did nursery, primary, and secondary school. For me, he's educated. He speaks good English, he can read and write. All right?
You can compare the school back in the day with the current one that we have now. Because some will say standard 4, well, he might not have studied, standard 4 and all of that. But then, if you compare the education of, the olden days to this current one, do you think that you can go to secondary school and then you're good?
Yeah, well, yes, I would say that. But, not at public school level, maybe at private school level. You and I know that, a lot of us, we have kids and we don't pray to send our kids to public nursery and primary school or secondary school because of the standard and, I would say that. But for me, I believe strongly that as a nation, we need to pay attention to what would boost our economy. So if I'm going to focus on my own sector, the last 11 years, my organization have trained over 6,000 people in the art and the business of shoemaking. Because I found out that being to places like Italy, Turkey, and some other places that feed the world entirely with their quality product, I found out that what makes an Italian shoe different is skill. Skill. Majorly is skill. I can give you the gadget you're holding. I don't know how to operate it. You just have it and you brag with it. So they have the machineries, they have the skill, but they do not have the population. One of the greatest advantages we have in Nigeria is the most highly populated nation in Africa, over 200 million people. And that's one of the greatest advantages China has. China has the determination, they have focus, they have plans, and they have the population. And that's what they're using to their advantage. They have a way of improvising with what they have to get what they want.
I'm talking about that. I understand that you have a training coming up very soon on this. But before you talk about that, we will give you time to talk about that. Let's talk about the realities of the digital economy, the digital market, because I understand that it's a fusion of various factors. How do you input this into your business? A lot of Nigerians are into the digital market, cybersecurity, data analysis, and all. How do you put this in your reality?
Now, you mentioned data analysis. You mentioned digital marketing. That's the other side. That's the backup or the strength of getting the skill in the first place. So you have a wonderful shoe or nice one that you've made, and someone somewhere in the world wants to see it. I remembered about 12 months ago, about a year now, I went for an exhibition in the Gambia. And we had a stand in the Gambia, and it was more like a Nigerian stand organized by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. And I was proud to be in Nigeria because the Gambians see Nigeria as the USA of Africa. All right? And so the question is, there are a lot of people in the country like that across Africa that wants to see what would produce that person that makes, good shoes, good clothes, and how do they get to see it? Through digital means, and also, understanding what we need to do per time, understanding the style, the color, theme that we need to focus on this season and all. We need data to be able to trace a lot of things. We need to know the kind of shoes that would sell in our own country and the ones that are needed in other countries. So a lot of all of those things are very, very key and very important, merging it with, skill acquisition.
Right. Before we have you talk about, the upcoming program, because I'm also thinking beyond shoes, there are so many other skills that people need to, get into. So I want you to talk us through some of the skills that you believe are most critical to the economy of today, especially when it comes vis-a-vis apprenticeship, because we have a lot of people who are learning skills via apprentice.
Yeah. Yes, so there are a lot of them. I mean, so when I get questions like this, I just ask a question or try to reflect your mind to the basic needs of life. All right? So we talk about shelter, food, clothing, right? And mobility. So those 4 things. So let's start with mobility. I mean, you need guys to be able to fix your cars without you being worried. You need guys to be able to start thinking of, okay, can we replicate something like a Tesla in Nigeria? We have a lot of smart dudes around here. You need to start to think of, everything around mobility. Think about skills. Is it organizing? Is it wiring? Is it everything about mobility? Let's talk about food. Clothing. Clothing, it's everything. I mean, makeup, talk about clothes, talk about your underwear. You also talk about perfumes, all of those things. Then let's talk about shelter, tiling. Do we always have to outsource huge projects in Nigeria to foreigners? Do we always have to do that? We don't always have to do that. Recently, we have, most times when I go to Ibadan, I love to take the train. For me, I love to celebrate things that are now working in Nigeria.
So much more to talk about, but in relation to the program that is upcoming, what are you seeking to look at?
Yes, so, like I always tell people, for what I do, the people that really needs to be in our class cannot afford to pay for it. That's the truth.
Would you say that again?
The people that needs to learn shoemaking cannot afford to pay for it. We've done that research over the last 11 to 12 years. Because shoemaking requires time and focus. So the persons that can afford it, like my sister and yourself, I've gotten calls from, looking very prim and proper, I've made a lot of money. I told myself growing up that I need to acquire a skill before I retire. So I want to register. And they pay good money, but they drop out because they don't have the time that such thing requires. So we're putting a training together and talking to a number of organizations. So we've worked with organizations like GIZ, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. So most times we need people, young guys out there on the streets that cannot afford or are not wired like my immediate elder brother to go to school. They just don't want to go to school, not because they are wayward, but they just want to sit with a skill. And we have a lot of people that, they studied something in the university and it's no longer relevant in our society and they want to get a skill, but they cannot afford to pay for it. So, so what we do is we work with a lot of NGOs, international organizations to sponsor these individuals. All right, we have a pool of people that we pull in for interviews and all of that. And of course, then we run the training. And so averagely, we do it for a year. We do like 3-4 months in class, and we do internship for about 8 months so that they can have their grip and be able to produce something really nice.
All right, so let's talk about your assessment of how well the Nigerian digital market, the vocational and skills market, is doing in the international market. And, you also, we are looking at the cost of inflation. It's rising. I think it's about 33% already. And access to raw materials. How do you source your materials?
That's a big problem. So 90% of the materials in my industry are still imported, if not 95%. For obvious reasons. Leather is supposed to be one of the easiest things we can get in Nigeria. A lot of the tanneries, we work with some of the tanneries because of the volume we get to produce at times. A lot of them are crying because they really don't get the government support they need for the nature of what they do. And we have the best goat skin in the world. The goat you see that we eat as ogufe, popularly known, their skin is the best in the world. All right, I've been to an exhibition in Italy, in Milan, where as a black man, I got into the exhibition hall, and I see people pull me from left, right, and center to say that I have the best skin from Kano. I have the goat skin from Kano. Come check my sample. So we have those raw stuff, but we do not just have the enabling environment for it to be processed. Why can't we make our souls in Nigeria? Why can't we make buckles? Why can't we make accessories in Nigeria? Of course, you talk about light, you talk about funding, you talk about capital, you talk about cost of borrowing. I mean, it's endless. And I keep telling people, we keep complaining about dollars, exchange rate of dollars to Naira. This is a time for us to start thinking like a country like China. And every customer that will look at me and say before that, when I travel, I'd rather just buy my shoes from Italy or from UK. Exchange rate. A lot of people are reluctant now to travel. So we need to put in energy within to see how we can produce the quality I'm going to buy outside of Nigeria, here in Nigeria, so that I can buy it at a cheaper rate eventually. Average shoes that you really love to wear as a Nigerian, is about $100. Yeah. Convert that to Naira.
So when is this program coming up? Because is it exclusively for those who are not able to afford, learning skills acquisition, especially when it comes to shoemaking?
Yeah.
When exactly is it coming? Or is it also for those who, somebody like us, who are...
Yes, of course.
Want to retire young and rich.
So, we always have our program coming on. It's continuous, and we have in different batches and different sets. And for individuals that feel like, okay, you know what? You see some people say, okay, I want to sponsor 3 of my brothers. I'll pay whatever is required. We have such. And we are always more concerned about the group. The larger society that we know cannot afford it. We have a lot of testimonials of people that are from abject poverty, but now are independent financially and doing well with the skills. Some of them are now our member of staff, doing good. So some of them are on their own, working out their brands. So, but the bigger picture for us, which we've started talking to a couple of, organizations, we wouldn't mind if any organization watching now can approach us to say, okay, what will it cost to train 50 people in the next 12 months? For us, that is more impactful because those guys are hungry and they believe that this is like their last resort. So you see the attitude in class, you see the attitude when they feel like they want to give up.
Voracious appetite.
Exactly. Unlike, a rich man that sends his son, the guy is thinking in his mind, if I don't do well, after all, my dad won't disown me. I'll still go back to, spending his money. So we don't really get much result from that. Not that we've not gotten good result at all, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But most importantly for us is that bigger pool of individuals where organizations like we've done in the past, gotten good testimonials, and good.
And when you talk about organizations giving you about 12 months to train their staffs, how realistic is it to achieve a training of a staff in shoemaking in 12 months and they can stand on their own? Remember that we have a lot of half-baked entrepreneurs outside now that, I beg your pardon, that are yet have been able to establish on a larger scale but do not have full knowledge of what they are into.
Exactly.
Talk to us about
so the organization, when I talk about organization, I'm not talking about their staff, really. It's them sponsoring, more like their CSR unit or an NGO that is, wired for that. But talking about them being able to get their grip on it. And that's the reason why I said that the quality of time that is needed needs to...
Sorry to bother, but because of our time, when exactly is it holding and where? Quickly.
Yeah, so office at Ikeja. You can check us online, Shoe Speed, on Instagram and all of that. And of course, we can also get
That's
to
right.
discuss about it.
That's right. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you very
MICEO,
much.
Shoe Speed, Abiodun Folawiyo. Thank you very kindly
Thanks,
for what you do. Well done. Right, just stay with us here on TVC Breakfast. Up next is Entertainment Wrap.